Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. So we're going to start a little bit of a occasional series. I'm not going to do it probably every week, but I'm going to throw it in when I feel timing's right and it blends in with some of the other stuff that I've been showing you. But we're going to talk about wood shedding. Early on in my education, especially at Musicians Institute, I kept hearing the phrase wood shedding, and some of the most respected players and teachers I knew kind of all gave the same answer. That in the early days, a lot of the musicians, sax players, any horn players would go out to the woodshed or the barn or anything on their property where they weren't going to bother their family, and they would lock themselves in there and they would study music over and over again. And part of the concept of woodshedding, drilling down to one aspect of it, was to take like a melody and try different rhythms with it. Try how many ways could you play it rhythmically, but maintaining the same melody, and then do it through all 12 keys. And I thought, since the 2-5-1 progression is such a common progression in music, it'd be great if, and we as bass players, we have to be able to create a bass line against it and also maybe improvise against it. I thought this would be a good chance to kind of do a woodshedding thing. This is just something you can lock yourself into practice maybe for a week. Try some of the variations that I have and then create your own variations. So let's first start by talking about the progression. We're going to stay in the key of C. It's a lot easier, I think, when you're doing something new. Go to the key of C. There's no sharps and flats, so it's very easy to work with. And we're going to do the 2, which is the 2 chord is D minor 7, up to the 5, which is G7, down to the 1, which is C major 7, and we're going to play that C major 7 2 bars. So 1 bar of D minor 7, 1 bar of G dominant 7, 2 bars of C major 7. So I created a line, and I'm going to show you the basic line as a walking bass line, a jazz walking bass line. And I wanted to show you then what you can do and how many things you can do to that to create an exercise that's going to continue to bear fruit. So first we're going to just play the D minor 7 arpeggio up to the 7. We're going to play the root, the F, the minor 3rd, the A, which is the perfect 5th, and the C, which is the minor 7. Now, a lot of bass players, they got to done with the D minor 7, they're thinking about the G7, they want to jump down all the way down here to G and start on the root. I know that's how we've been trained, is to start bass lines on the root of the chord. I'm going to break that a little bit. We just finished playing on the 7. Now the next chord is a G dominant 7, but we're a half step away from the major 3rd. So we're going to play the B, which is the major 3rd of G dominant 7 here, and we're going to come down from there and play the G. Now we play the root, the minor 7, which is F, and D, which is the perfect 5th. So we get this. Now listen to how smooth that sounds. I didn't invent it, but I see it a lot. And, in my early days of studies, we were encouraged to transcribe walking jazz bass lines, and I'd find that little segment with a lot of players, different rhythms maybe, but that particular connection of resolving to the major 3rd and then coming down. Now this leads us down. Listen to the motion. We're descending to the next chord is C major 7. We're a whole step away. That's perfect. There we will start on the root because that makes a lot of sense. But instead of heading right back up, I decided to go to the major 7, the B, and then toggle back to the C. So the first 3 notes of the C major 7, and I just go up to the arpeggio, up to the octave, and then I play the root one last time to kind of lead me back to that D, because we can repeat this over and over again. Let me play that bass line. Now I should pause for a second. If I threw a lot of intervals there you didn't understand and a lot of chords you don't really know, you might be jumping ahead a little bit in the lessons, which is fine. I'm cool with that. But if you want, and I highly recommend it, go back and watch my Introduction to Introducing Intervals series. Each series, there's 6 of the videos. Each one deal with 2 intervals. If you can learn what those intervals are, lessons like this and from other instructors online become a lot easier if you understand when they throw it out real quickly. Perfect 5th, major 3rd, things like that. You'll understand what we're talking about. Second, you may want to go and check out I did videos for each one of those chord types. And you can find a video for major 7 arpeggios, video for minor 7 arpeggios, and video for dominant 7th arpeggios. Kind of maybe review those, get all that knowledge in your bag, and then you'll find this lesson probably a little more helpful. All right, I'm going to play the bass line without stopping, and check it out. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, so that's the bass line playing quarter notes. So a couple things you can do woodshedding as a walking bass player is you can move it to all 12 keys. So you could say, oh, well, if I'm in G major, I'm going to start on the A minor and then play back there. Try all 12 keys. That's simple enough. But now we're going to try one simple variation, and this can help in your walking bass lines, but also can help in your improv and soloing, in which case you may want to move up an octave, get into more what some people are classically called a solo register. I don't like that phrase because I think the entire bass is the solo register, but it's a good way to tell, okay, move up higher in the octave. And the first thing we're going to do is start every measure just with 2 eighth notes, and then we're going to swing them one and instead of one and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're just going to duplicate whatever note is on that first beat. Let me show you what I mean. On the D minor, we're going to go on the, there's the G7. I know that's a simple one, and I meant it to be. Remember, we want to make each improvement or each thing that we do to advance our musicianship, we want to make it incrementally very tiny so it's very accessible and you can breeze through it and it doesn't create that moment of, I'm not going to get this. You can get this. Like that. Another variation, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can download some of my variations on the Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Become a subscribing member for $8 a month. You'll be able to download it. Then what I do is I keep those 2 eighth notes on the beat 1, and I put a triplet on beat 3. And for the sake of just being simple, I just make it the same. I repeat the same note that is on the 3rd beat of the measure. So on the D, I'm going to go. Da, 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 da. That's the rhythm. On the G, starting on the B, the G7, you can see how just adding rhythmic diversity to a simple melodic line can be kind of cool. Now, even though I don't write out examples like this, you can start expanding it. You can start thinking beyond the arpeggio and think of the scales. Like if I'm using Dorian, maybe I make those triplets, I toggle from, like in this case, the 5th to the 4th to 5th. So it sounds like, see how I did that? Like that. Just take 2 notes that are adjacent to each other in a scale and toggle off and on it again. You can, this is an unlimited exercise. I mean, you could take this one melodic concept and write out hundreds of different rhythmic patterns, especially if you add in scale notes. You could do 16th notes. One thing I like to do is do it all with 8th notes. So I'm actually playing 8 notes per measure. So in this case, I might come up here and go like, that's a whole 8 eighth notes there. And then on the dominant, and then move it to all 12 keys. So if you've been looking for something to practice, you're not quite sure what, you can take this exercise, try my two variations off the quarter note, so starting with just 8 notes on beat 1 and then 8 notes on beat 1, triplet on beat 3, and then put 16th notes in, make them all 8 notes, make the first 3 quarter notes, the last one 16th notes, things like that, and you'll find that you'll get new ideas. Best of all, you'll have a ton of ideas for playing over 2-5-1s. And if maybe you're in a high school jazz band, you're just now getting the opportunity to not play written bass lines, you can start coming up with your own bass lines, but you don't have any ideas. This is literally a way to farm ideas. And since the 2-5-1 is prevalent in a lot of jazz and big band, well, in all music, it's a great progression to start on. So what do you think? Woodshedding 2-5-1s, Unit 1. Do you have any suggestions what I could do to make it better? Believe me, it's going to get more complex. I never want to start a video of a new series with a really difficult one because I don't want to discourage people. Hopefully this is attainable for all you guys watching, and that way you'll be more inclined when you see Unit 2 come up. You'll be like, oh yeah, that was fun, or I got a lot out of that. It wasn't, oh man, that kicked my butt, I shouldn't even watch Unit 2. I want to really get your musicianship up and my musicianship up by incrementally stepping, short little steps, little challenges. So what'd you think? I'm excited about this one. This is how I practice. There's a lot of stuff I do to practice. Taking a little phrase, working it through all 12 keys, do rhythmic variations on it. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by. Please, as I mentioned before, subscribe to the channel. like and share the channel. Hit the little bell icon so you're notified when I upload new videos. And of course, if you feel like you want to get written materials that support each one of these videos and you want to get some play along wave files, then please go to my Patreon page. In the description below, you'll find the link and become a Backstage Pass subscribing member. That'd be awesome. I would love the support, and it would open a lot of doors for me expanding the channel. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.